trends. Daniel's in the trenches, grinding it out, going after condos as well as single-family houses. Every Friday at 4 o'clock South Florida time, we're going to give you our take. Two locals, been on the ground for 30 years each, about what's going on in the South Florida condo market. We have 5 stories. We're going to discuss them. We're going to tell you whether they are a buy, they are a sell, or they are a hold. Daniel's going to take the mic from me, and he's now in charge. Here you go, Daniel.
What's going on, Peter? Hey, I just want to throw it out there. This is our 10th episode.
Woo! We made 10. Who would have thought?
It to 10. I think the statistics out there are somewhere like 99.9% of podcasts don't make it past episode 7. And to commemorate that, we are live on Instagram for the first time today. So I hope nothing breaks. For everybody else watching on YouTube and Substack, welcome back. My name is Daniel Hernandez. To my right, left, I don't know, up, down, wherever you're watching, is Peter Zalewski. So our format for this is kind of like PMI. If you ever watch PMI, Part of the Interruption, PTI, Part of the Interruption on ESPN, we have a number of topics that we're going to go through, 7 minutes a pop. If we go over a little bit, we go into overtime, and we've allocated time for that. But we have a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to jump right into it. Peter's a very analytical gentleman. He does condo tours, walking tours throughout various parts of Miami every Saturday morning, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that. And in preparation for that, Peter pulls data. We are very data-oriented here at Buy, Sell, Hold, and Peter's seen a few harrowing statistics coming out of the Brickle condo market. You want to tell us a little bit about that? Peter, I lost your audio. We lost your audio. Fix it. Oh, we lost Peter completely. Well, not without any technical difficulties, but we are still live on Instagram. Peter's coming back to us right now. There he is. Can we hear
Daniel, you? Hear me?
Yeah. And
all right.
He's back.
Sorry about that.
What'd you do?
So, dude, it's summer. And the problem is it's too sunny. There's no rain. The internet works better when there's rain. Wink, wink. No, I'm not sure what's happening. We will make up for that. We're going to overwhelm people with a bunch of different information. But you were asking about this report we came out with last night. We published it on Thursday night. It's in anticipation of a tour I'm doing on Saturday. I'm going to be walking people around the Brickle Avenue area. I've graded downtown Miami, about 101 condo projects, if so. So in running the data for tomorrow's tour, took a look at pricing. 11 of the 101 condo projects in this stretch from the Eddie Rickenbacker Causeway north of the Miami River, the Biscayne Bay, west Interstate 95, 11 of them are now currently priced, active listings, below what they were in the winter buying season when people actually made acquisitions. They did deals. The biggest discount, 18%. So if you would have bought in the winter and you revisited that project today and you offered full asking price, you get 18% less pound for pound for that particular unit. Some of the buildings, Daniel.
Are you going to tell us what building it's in?
That one is, I'll look it up shortly. I think I got off the top of my head, but I don't want to misspeak because this is the type of thing that could be market moving. But one of the buildings, Daniel, on this list, a famous Ugo Colombo building. Ugo is a condo developer down here.
Ugo.
He builds quality. One of his buildings, people are looking to unload. They're looking to sell. Which building is it? Take a shot, and I will give you a hint. It has something to do with something that's erotic, and it has to do with the ocean. Take it. That's going to be in the base of the building. It'll be a ground floor retailer.
Bristol?
No. Well, Bristol's on the list.
Bristol's on the list. They actually, if you're in the market and you want, as Peter says, the worst unit in the best building, the dumpster
overlooking the dumpster.
You want, and it's not the dumpster; it's the tennis court and the security thing. But you're not looking at the water. You're looking in the wrong direction for all intents and purposes. But there is a unit in Bristol right now, 2-bedroom unit. It's a large 2-bedroom unit, and you can steal this thing, and you will have the worst unit in the best building. Because I love Bristol. You know I love Bristol. But wait, what's the unit? What's the 18% discount unit?
Well, the 18%, according to the data, which was pulled last night, it's going to come in as 3 to catch the point. It'll be on Brickle Key. Current ask
Oh.
$830 a foot is the average ask. If you would have bought during the winter, you would have paid an average of $1,015 a foot. 18.2% discount that's now in place. What are some of the other buildings? 500 Brickle. We all know that one. That one's right there across the street from the Viceroy
Big
as well as the
project.
Baccarat. Then you got 1010 Brickle, which is right across the street from the one that I was quizzing you about, the Ugo project, which, by the way, the name of the retailer is called
You're talking about Flatiron? No.
Brickle Flatiron. Brickle Flatiron,
Brickle Flatiron?
3% discount right now versus what you would have paid in the winter. So anybody who bought during the winter, you might want to call that realtor up and say, hey, I thought you said this was a great deal and was only going to be appreciating. Anybody who held back and did not buy, you might be getting some wiggle room, and you also might have an opportunity to go in there and start lowballing, because if the ask is already 3% below what they paid in the winter, you might be able to even lower that price even more.
Hold on, I'm going to pull this up. What are the active units in the Flatiron? There's like 600 units in there total. It's a massive complex.
You want those numbers? Let me give it to you right now.
Tell me those numbers. Tell our
I will give you those numbers just because
current viewers what those numbers are.
It is our 10th episode anniversary, so I'm going to feel free to share it. If you want to get a list of all these condo projects and what's going on, come out and take my tour. I give everybody a list of all of the condo projects in the area while we wander around 4 miles or so. The Brickle Flatiron. Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now. Looks like it has a total of 549 units, of which 32 are on the market today. 1.9 a door.
That's not bad. That doesn't pass our 10% threshold. So
no, it doesn't pass it.
Everybody watching, if we see a building, or if you see a building, or somebody tells you about a building that has more than 10% available inventory on the market, that's a red flag. It's also, by the way, a red flag if there are no units available, because that means there's really no liquidity in the building. You can't comp, you can't price. It becomes a more difficult exercise to transact in that building. So the sweet spot is somewhere between 5 and 10%. Once you start getting into 15 and 20%, you better as hell be the cheapest unit in that line, or, well, frankly, you might not be able to sell the unit.
And that's a great point. Daniel, some people don't go price per square foot. They get caught up. They like price per door. Just to give you context, today, if you walk in the Brickle Flatiron, your average ask is $1.9 million a door. If you bought in winter, you pay $2.1 million a door. I'm sorry to laugh, but and also too, Daniel, those 32 that are for sale in Brickle Flatiron, they've been on the market 157 days. If you bought during the winter, they were listed, they went under contract, and they closed. Grand total, 43 days. So you can see there's a movement right now in Brickle Flatiron, as well as the other 10 projects, which they've already begun to cut pricing on. And what will probably follow is other buildings who basically, unit owners who want to get out the door, they want to move the product, they're probably going to start cutting as well. This is typically how the doom loop scenario plays out.
And in Brickle, I know we've been talking a lot about the Central Business District World Center over the past few weeks, but in Brickle, what's the next building to deliver?
The next building that will be coming online, let me think. I'm thinking about Cipriani. That's not there. No. Lofty and the Standard is not yet there. What's already topped off? Viceroy's far along. Baccarat's far along. The next one to come online, I think I might be stumping this. It might be one of the smart Brickles. You know, there's a whole series. There's like 3 smart Brickles. A lot of them had proceeded. They're kind of west. You know where the McDonald's is, right off Cayocho or 8th Street?
Yeah.
And by the way, just east of Alligator Alcatraz. If you go west, you go to Alligator Alcatraz. You go east, you end up at the Bay. So smart Brickle right in and around there, just to the south.
Swing. You have the Mandarin on the easternmost part, and then
let's see if they build that. Let's see if they build a Mandarin. Well, you know, that's another question.
They sold Brickle City Center and they sold Temello. So I mean, what that's $700 million. That should get you at least a lobby.
Or you sit on the sidelines, you play it out, you sell off the dirt or you JV, and you don't take the risk. So, but that's a completely different story.
Am I? Wait, we didn't talk about this. I have a surprise for you, Peter.
Nice. Hey, 10th episode anniversary. Let's hear it.
I have a surprise for you. Your favorite YIMBY publication, and it's not the YIMBY, but and this I'm reading directly from the article from the Next Miami. Additional details have been revealed for potential future development at a Brickle property reportedly owned by
Ken Billions,
Ken Billions.
which is an inside joke. If anybody doesn't know, Ken Griffin, I made a mistake. I called him Ken Billions, and now we've sort of
I mean,
decided that that's the way we're going to refer to him. The
that
the
he's
hedge
got
fund owner.
billions of dollars. I mean, he's no Zara guy. I mean, I think he's got about half as much money as a Zara guy who just purchased another building across from where this guy is putting his building supposedly. But they submitted drawings to the county. If that really means anything, I know it doesn't mean shit to you, Peter. But
Listen. Ken Billions bought. He bought his dirt 2.5 years ago. They've come out. They've released all kinds of paperwork. They talk about how Miami's going to replace New York as a capital of the United States, capital of the world. They're going to break ground third quarter of this year on their $1 billion office tower. We're getting to the end of July. He's got 2 months to go. Let's see if he actually pulls the trigger and puts a shovel in the ground. I still say no, not happening.
So this is an interesting tidbit though. Previous plans never called for residential, right? If I'm
Oh, no. It was all office. I think there was a hotel component, retail.
A future phase of development is proposed to include up to 300 residential units, the filing said. So,
Ooh, nobody must want to lease office space like Stephen Ross, who owns the Dolphins and is with related group or related companies. I don't know. I always get the two confused. George Perez is one. Yeah. So Stephen Ross couldn't put up an office tower, and Swire decided to dump the dirt to the Mello Group, and maybe Ken Billions can't put it up either. And now he's looking to recalibrate and maybe add some residential because the office space, maybe there's no demand.
I don't know.
Which I've been saying.
I think Ken Griffin Tower is going up.
You think so? Well, I mean, listen, we're almost through July.
I don't know what it's going to be called, but I'm calling Ken Billions' tower the KGT. That's what we're going off of. KGT, and there's going to be listen. If you want to hire me or Peter as a consultant for this, we've come up with wild ideas. With private school, put a private school. We parking. You can put some parking in there. If you want to put a paddle court or 7, there's none in Brickle at the moment, but we can talk about that at another time. We're over time on this topic, but we're transitioning to transit station.
Well, before we do that, are you a buy, hold, sell on condo prices or condo projects continuing to go on downward? 11 projects have cut
condos in Brickle for the last 6 months when they should have been selling them, and now unfortunately you're taking what? What'd you say? What was the median haircut? 12%, 10%?
I didn't run the number because they're all averages, and then you got to come over to mean, and so basically between 3% and 18%. 3 Tequesta over on Brickle Key has an 18% price cut.
Well, so
is this the beginning of a trend?
You should have sold 6 months ago, but if you didn't,
is this the beginning of a trend, or is this simply an anomaly? It's 10%, 11% of the overall Brickle market. The prices are lower today in the summer than they were during the winter. Is that simply an anomaly, or do you think this is something that will gain momentum?
It's gaining momentum.
Yeah. I'm a buy on that. It's gaining momentum, and we're going to
I'm a buy on it's gaining momentum, but on the Miami Brickle condo sell-off, we're selling condos, or we're buying the idea. We're buying the idea. It's a buy.
It's a buy. Correct.
It's a buy.
Correct.
So, speaking of more and more inventory, we have an affordability crisis here in South Florida, here in Miami, and something we talk about a lot, something we're quite passionate about. And the county has its RTZ, rapid transit zoning. Tallahassee has passed the Live Local, which allows for developers to effectively supersede municipal building codes to build workforce housing. And now, as of yesterday, the City of Miami Commission has its own enhancement of this, the Transit Station Neighborhood Development Ordinance, and they've given more power. And I think, by the way, this has a lot to do with the development of the neighborhood that they've dubbed now Little River, right? So the Victory Homes development is going all in there. They have very specifically said that the historic districts won't be affected by this, so they're carved out. And one of these districts is pretty much all of Coconut Grove. So that 27th Avenue corridor south of US 1 that I always talk about is, the next luxury row. It's excluded from this, but it opens a door for a potential slippery slope, and it's nothing that we haven't seen before, where you give an inch and they take a mile. Interestingly enough, another one of the exclusions from this is Coral Gate. Did you know Coral Gate was included in one of these neighborhood zones, including in addition to Coconut Grove? I was looking at the GIS map for City of Miami. So there's Coral Gate, which is like totally apart. There's 2 zones in Coconut Grove, and then there's a whole district carve out in Wynwood. But all the rest of City of Miami is fair game for this. And effectively, the ordinance says that if you live in one of these transit nodes, so just draw a circle 1 mile around any transit stop, so just basically along the Metro Rail corridor, folks can build up to 12 stories, and that will supersede Live Local. And this is interesting, and I want to point this out. Live Local requires they have their AMI, their average medium income index, right? And so to live in a workforce housing community, you have to make, and don't quote me on these numbers, but I think it's about 120% of the AMI you can make up to that to qualify for a workforce housing rate in one of these buildings. And so the way Live Local works is that a developer will go and say, I'm going to build Live Local. And so the regulators say, well, at least 40% of this building needs to be for people who make at least 120 up to 120% of AMI.
Daniel, if I can interrupt you.
Yeah.
Daniel. Yeah. So the audience knows AMI is what average median
income.
Okay, so I just looked. I asked AI, so it's based on AI. 33 grand in Miami-Dade County to give people context. Sorry to interrupt. Please proceed.
So 33 grand, right? So then average household income, right? That makes sense because average household income is 66, 65 and change.
So yeah, I looked up individual. Oh no, median household income in Miami-Dade County, yeah, 69,000.
Right, and so depending on what district you're in, this can fluctuate. But the new ordinance, the City of Miami ordinance, right? And they claim that they're trying to step ahead of Live Local, because Live Local, if a developer comes, it's been described as bringing a handgun to the negotiation with these municipalities. So they'll basically come and say, hey, we're going to build Live Local and there's nothing you can do about it. And they're kind of right. And then you have these urban development review boards that are very strong in City of Miami. They look after Brickle, they look after Wynwood, they look after Coconut Grove, and that's kind of like the last stopgap, and these Live Local projects are going to get built. So the City of Miami proposes this. It unanimously gets passed yesterday. This TSND, Transit Station Neighborhood Development, and what it allows is a much smaller piece of that building's pie needs to be for workforce housing. So it's what you've always said is kind of like a mullet: poor people on the bottom, party on the top. And that, I think, is what we're going to see in the name of affordable housing. So the question I pose to you and that I want to discuss is this actually better than Live Local? Is it just different than Live Local, or is it worse than Live Local and it's wrapped in this sheath of it's for the betterment of the city?
Well, my perspective is last week during our 9th episode, because this is the 10th, last week during 9th episode, I was listening to an interview and I heard the mayor of Miami-Dade County, Levine Cava, and she came out and said that they had a shortfall. Why? Shortfall for over $400 million in the upcoming budget. Why was that? Because valuations had come down. This, I think, is a move to hedge against what happened to Miami during the Great Recession when their credit rating fell to junk bond status because as prices collapsed, they didn't have money coming in. You pay your 2% property tax, a third goes to the county, a third goes to the school board, a third goes to the city. This is a movement simply to backstop the fact that things cost a lot, plus the politicians need some cash to play with, and they're simply allowing anything and everything to go up. So I would say just think of that big picture wise as to where we are in the economy. In terms of my perspective, I haven't had a car since 2013. I gave it up voluntarily. It was not it was not court ordered, and I take public transportation. And what rule do I use? I want about an 8 to 10 block walk to the metro rail station or some sort of public transportation. So I mean, the overall strategy makes a lot of sense with limits, because if you look at the Vizcaya station, Daniel, and Vizcaya station is right on US 1 and about 12th Avenue. If you go there, it's all 1 and 2 story buildings. And you got a metro rail station there with a nice water fountain, and there's some artwork. If you suddenly start putting in 12-story towers around there, on the edge of the Rhodes neighborhood, which is one of the neighborhoods laid out by Mary Brickle, back in the day, that could change that area dramatically. And oh, by the way, it would also leak over into in and around the Vizcaya, where you have these houses. Also, to where Ken Billions has his 2 properties, including the one he wants to ship up to Overtown after he puts it on the flatbed, so he can get rid of it.
The ordinance does carve out that whole.
Imagine that. You don't want to have shadows in that neighborhood. Let's just put it in the other neighborhoods. Generally speaking, I'm for it. Put it up, allow people the possibility. But I think there also has to be some more steps that would be necessary. We are going to run into some sort of financial issues, I think, going forward, especially if there's a pullback in the economy, especially if we have some repercussions as a result of immigration policy. So, I'm not against it. I'm for it, but with some controlled measures. But listen, if other neighborhoods have to suffer through it, why would you carve out the Rhodes? Why would you carve out the Grove? Why would you carve out Ken Billions' neighborhood?
Well, no, the Rhodes isn't carved. The Rhodes is not carved out. It's just
so you could see towers going up on the Rhodes.
Well, you could see towers. I think it's going to affect the Coralway corridor.
Wow. And Coralway corridor it's antiquated.
So
it's just sitting there.
Is now the question, and I'd be curious, how do we define a transit stop? Does a transit stop include bus stops?
No, not okay, as far as I know.
No. You're right.
It's going to be Metro Mover and Metro Rail.
It's going to be a fixed rail transit stop.
Yeah.
So I think some parts of Coralway are probably within, like closer to 12th Avenue. That's within a mile of that Vizcaya transit stop. I don't think that the Coralway at 27th Avenue is within a mile of US 1. I think that might be over a mile.
Yeah, roughly. It's probably up to about Coralway. It's probably Coralway to US 1 because you got the Coconut Grove Metro Rail station right there at 27th and US 1.
But the north side of US 1 on 27th Avenue right there, cranes are going to go up.
Oh, dude, for sure. There's no question about it. Again, there's a bunch of teardowns. You got 1-story dentist offices with all kinds of parking around them. That dentist can be anywhere. The only reason that dentist is there is that they made a real estate investment knowing that they would cash out that way by dumping the dirt.
What do you think Shell Lumber's worth right now? The dirt under Shell Lumber, right there on the underline with this ordinance across the street from the 27th Avenue Metro Rail station. I mean, it's like a trifecta. What
about Daily Bread? What about the Daily Bread right there? You know what I mean? Between 27th and 22nd.
Yeah.
They got a little, 1-story retail side with some parking in the middle. You know that everybody's going to cash in. Well, but then the question becomes, when will the cycle allow it? Are they going to be able to do it now, or are they going to have to wait till the next go round?
What about the covered land plays with all those self-storage spots that have been going up there over the last 2 decades? I mean, there's no less than 3 or 4 between 27th Avenue and Brickle along the underline there.
Yep.
I mean, it's not my business, but
tile. They got places selling tile, paint, all kinds of stuff.
So
this is a pretty big. It's a pretty big deal because you could basically see what occurred north of the MacArthur Causeway in and around the Performing Arts Center. You could basically see that type of development come over to the south side, a bunch of other areas, and more importantly, you could also take it up north because remember the Metro Rail it makes its hook. Yeah, it makes its hook around 79th Street.
Street is. What is that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but it'll hook around 79th Street, in and around there as you're on the west side of Interstate 95. Right in there by the flea market on the way to Hialeah Racetrack. And what about Hialeah Racetrack? What about all in and around there? Where does the metro rail end? I think Medley or Sweetwater. I always get the two confused. One's named after
that
Circus.
better than I do.
Yeah. Because I take it all the time. But yeah, watch. You could have massive development going up in and around all as a result of this.
Yeah, listen, fan of progress. I'd be a hypocrite if I wasn't saying I'm into it. Do I hope that they use it in a responsible manner? Yes. Does it need to be done? Do we need workforce housing incentives for developers? Yes. Will it be exploited? Probably. But I do think it's necessary. I wonder how they came up with the percentage allocations for AMI. If I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in those conversations. Actually, you can probably get it through Florida Sunshine Law, but it just sort of seems. It doesn't seem like a lot. If Live Local demands 40% of the building to be for workforce housing, and you have these other ordinances demanding either 10 or 20% allocated towards workforce housing, that's half. Why doesn't the city of Miami ordinance demand 40% as well? I don't know. Just a question.
Well, again, going back to I think some of it is laid out by the feds and state and other stuff, big picture. I'm not an expert in this, but going back, the reason that this is so important is because they put in place Miami 21. Miami 21 was this policy that was adopted late 2000s, 2007, 2008, but it had been proposed earlier. And the reason it was put in place is that we were the poorest big city in the United States after the 2000 census. And Manny Diaz, the mayor at the time, was looking for a way to poach all of those people who were getting off a plane at Miami International Airport and going to Aventura, going to Miami Beach, going to the Grove. He wanted a way to kind of bring it all in. And therefore, they passed Miami 21, which is recognized throughout the United States as really cutting edge, ahead of the curve types of planning and zoning model or design. And what it's all about is height and the shape of the building, not necessarily what you do with the building. So it was really cutting edge. And I think this is simply just a dividend that's coming from the policy and the plan that was adopted by the former mayor and pushed by the former mayor.
So you buy, sell, hold on it. We're over time.
Oh, I'm a buy, but I have no car. So the more I see people stuck in traffic, the more I laugh. I pay my $225 to ride the Metro Rail, although Levine Cava, because of the $400 million shortfall, she says we're going to have to raise the Metro Rail to $275, 20% increase, but I'm willing to absorb it.
Those motherfuckers.
Dude, it's a 20% increase. That's higher than the Trump tariffs.
All right. I'm buying it with an asterisk, as you so often like to do. I got my fingers crossed on this. What can I say? I hope it's done responsibly. Next, we're going to immigration and real estate. Immigration buyers, foreign buyers have dipped, at least in condos, since 2018 from its peak of 50% to the latest numbers came in at 2024. 10% of buyers of condos in 2024 have been foreign, as opposed to 50% back in 2018. Why is that? It's been a downward trend since 2018, so we can't all blame it on the Trump administration. I think it's just gotten too expensive for Miami. It's gotten too expensive in Miami for foreign buyers. Foreign buyers were never buying $100 million lots on North Bay Road. They weren't buying $60 million pre-construction units at the Mandarin Oriental. They were buying regular homes, affordable condos. So I think that trend upwards in appreciation has a lot to do with the trend downwards in foreign buyers. But I think the article you sent me has a little bit more to do about recent immigration policies, right, Peter?
Yes. So this is a piece that comes out of the Miami Herald. It was published on the 14th of July. The headline is How Immigration Issues Can Affect Florida Real Estate. I can't live here is the quote. And basically the story says, I'll read you the first couple graphs, then I'll get into it. It starts off, some buyers have the upper hand in Florida with rising inventory and developers offering sales incentives, but immigration issues also are affecting the real estate market, with uncertainty leading to some property owners to sell their homes quickly to capitalize on rising prices. And this is a quote from a woman called Gisela Rojas. She's a broker with a firm called Cayesa Realty Investment. She
Your
says there are people who are
pronunciation's
leaving.
spot on.
Yeah, they're calling me. They're putting their houses up for sale. They're saying I can't live here anymore, and they're simply moving along. And some of the issues are pricing, but the other issues is that they're they're going back to their home country. According to this real estate broker who's quoted in the Miami Herald story, she says people are returning to Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, and they're looking for other places like Spain to start a new life. I'm seeing it up close, she says. Most of them are facing immigration uncertainty. Rojas said they had already achieved the American dream without being residents and with a lot of effort, but now they're ready to move on. Daniel, what happens if we have a lot of people self-deporting, which is the phrase that's being used, so they put their properties on the market? And this is the question I keep asking. Who is there to take them out? Who is going to backstop this market? Go back to the Great Recession. Market goes to hell. U.S. dollar falls. Foreign currency strong. Prices discounted. Foreign nationals step in. They take out the domestic speculators as well as foreign speculators. They take them out. If foreign nationals aren't coming in here because of places like Alligator Alcatraz, which is right on 8th Street, Cayocho, you go one way, you end up at the Bay, you end up in Brickle Financial Center. You go west, you end up at Alligator Alcatraz. If these people aren't coming here and or they're coming here, but they don't feel comfortable investing, who takes out this product? And more importantly, how do you get a bump on your pricing? The first story we talked about was how 10% of Brickle area condos are now priced below where we were in the winter buying season in terms of transaction price. Who is there to backstop the market in terms of pricing on the condo side as well as the single family house side? If people self-deport, who do you sell the product to? And if you want the cash and you're going to get a currency bump because the dollar, while weakening, is still stronger than maybe your home country, you might have a 4X type of play where you dump the house here, you take a loss, you get it off the books. Now you got all this cash. You convert it into your home currency, whether it's Colombian peso, Argentinian peso, or anything else. This could really, it could really create some issues, some downward pressure on the marketplace.
Well, I think it's tough. That's really tough, Peter, because we've seen depreciation in condos, especially the vintage condos, 30 years plus, as you always like to point out. But in certain submarkets, and I always like to bring up Key Biscayne, if you look at single family, which Key Biscayne, for those of you watching who don't know, it's an island, much like Miami Beach, but much smaller, right off the coast of Brickle, and you have 2 state parks, and ocean on either side. So they're not building any more single family home plots, and there are no more plots for condos unless you're going to buy an older property and tear it down, which they do. All over town they do this. So Key Biscayne, a lot of those condos developed in the 70s, in the 80s and 90s. They're aging, they're old. People who are coming here, they don't want to live in one of these old condos. So if they can afford it, they'll buy the house. And that single family home market has continued to appreciate. And by the way, in Key Biscayne, you're not buying a teardown for less than $2.5 million. Now, if you go to different parts of Miami, I wonder, and Peter, you might have some data on this, but in the South Dade sector, where Lennar and Ryan Homes have been selling these houses for decades, those properties, have we continued to see appreciation there, or has it plateaued, partly because of this sort of immigrant exodus that we're beginning to see? Are they taking haircuts?
Well, I only look at the condos. I don't really take a look at the single family. It's something that's beyond my understanding. They're all works of art. They're all unique versus a condo is just a commodity.
But even like those Lennar build outs, they have style 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, isn't that quasi commoditized?
Yes, it's quasi commoditized, but it tends to be a different type of buyer. It tends to be more of a local type of user, if you will, where if you look at the stuff that's coastal, it's east of Interstate 95, that's going to be more of like a trading pit. That's much more a commodity. Whenever you get into a townhouse, I kind of say it's somebody who doesn't have enough room in a condo, but they can't afford a house. So it's kind of like a stepping, it's a step in the right direction. So they think going in. But a lot of times when they go to sell it, from at least what I've seen, they never get back what they sort of thought they were going to get, because the townhouse takes a certain breed of end user, from my perspective.
Got it. And then, all right. So then let's talk condos then.
Well, Daniel, before you do, you mentioned Key Biscayne. Let me just throw this out to you. So I'm online. 14,000 people live in Key Biscayne, of which, according to census data, 8,400 are foreign born.
Yeah.
Just to give you context, Miami-Dade County, 54% foreign born.
Right. So
residents.
That's nearly a mirrored representation.
Yeah. It is, but I'm saying, but that's the exposure. If people decide, you know what, screw it, I'm out, or somebody got deported, somebody's in alligator Alcatraz.
If you're coming here from Latin America, which is a large percentage of the folks who live on Key Biscayne, right? And you want the Key Biscayne lifestyle, you love it, and you have friends that live there, your family lives there. You're not going to go right into a single family home. You'll typically graduate into that single family home. Your start will be an entry level condo somewhere on the Key. Well, if those folks are not coming here, then to your point, who's going to take current owners out of these condos? Because my domestic buyers, by the way, they're like, keep us what? keep us, is that like Miami Beach? No, man, they want to live in the central business district. They want to be as New York-y as possible. The idea of going to an island back and forth, that's not their definition of a good time. So unless somebody's familiar with it, who's been vacationing here, maybe they know what Key Biscayne is, it's kind of a difficult thing to explain. The New York set, the California, Chicago urban dwellers, they want to live somewhere where it's urban. And by the way, they probably work their asses off and they want to be as close to their office as possible. So the idea of a 25-minute drive in each direction anytime they want to go home is not appetizing.
I agree with you entirely. I mean, I think as people look at the market, and not to be political, but as you look at the market and you see the evolution and the trends that are occurring, understand what our hustle is in Florida and has been for over 100 years. We use the sunshine, we use the great experiences, whether you're in South Beach or you're in Wynwood or you're in Orlando, and that convinces people to go ahead and buy real estate. Now, if somehow you lose a certain component, it just would mean supply demand. Prices are going to have to come down in order to. So maybe we need to change who our category is. Maybe the jet setter who's dropping $5,000 a foot, which, by the way, if you look at the average asking price right now in Cipriani and Brickle, it's north of $5,000 a foot, to give you context. So who's going to pay 5 G's a foot if the jet setters aren't here?
Wait, Cipriani's at $5,000 a foot? No, come on.
5,000. Yeah. Again, we were pulling all the numbers for the tour tomorrow. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, but what is that? The penthouses are left?
I'll pull it up as we speak, but what I'm saying is, so we're right now priced, okay? We're priced based on jet setters coming here. Let's say the post Versace, which is hit 20 years ago, if you can believe it already. But we're priced for jet setters. Now, if suddenly we have a different end user, we're gonna have to recalibrate. We're gonna have to mark to market all of these prices. Is somebody coming out of Pennsylvania, who are they gonna drop $5,000 per foot on a condo while they're driving a Ford? All due respect to Ford. See, so I'm just saying we might be in tune for a real devaluation.
No, you're right.
It's something to think about going forward. If who are you going to peddle this stuff to? If you go back to the 1920s, Florida land boom, they were marketing the hell out of this product all over, the Northeast and in the Midwest. You come down here, buy a condo, it was cheap. They ended up with swampland. We've been marketing this stuff. We take realtors, we put them on planes. I call them, preaching the word of whoever the developer is. They fly all around the world and they're peddling all this type of product. If suddenly they stop these trips because nobody's buying or nobody's interested or people are afraid to come here, where do they take these sellers, these brokers? Where are you going to redirect them to in order to buy and find something at $5,000 a square foot? A buyer for $5,000 a foot.
Surfside.
Exactly, Surfside. Let me give you that exact number, Daniel, because because people are going to be like, oh, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So
No,
right
I
now,
believe. I mean, I believe it. It just blows my mind.
all right, so Cipriani or Cipriani, however you want to pronounce it, is going to be going for. You got 4 units on the market. Average ask 11.3 a door, 11.3 million a door, $5,510 a square foot, 5510. Is somebody from Pennsylvania who drives a Ford and they came down here because they don't want to pay for Spirit? Are they going to drop $5,500 a square foot? And if not, who replaces them? Now the developer might be
There are
successful.
less and less Argentinians doing so. I'll tell you that much.
The developer might be successful. Listen, he put supposedly, according to press reports, Leonardo Messi on the board. Supposedly he's got buying some units. And now developer's probably fine. But how do you retrade out of your position? Who takes you out? If you're in at that price, what do you need to get in terms of appreciation to make money? Or are you going to have to do what Ken Billions had to do with Faina and basically unload it for less than he paid? The exit
Yeah.
and seeing this is
what was that? What
this
was
is
that
the issue.
transaction? What did he lose on that Faena condo?
I want to say back in the day, I'm going off memory, and I'm going to watch what I say simply because I don't want to
spitball it.
I don't want to get a cease and desist or anything. But my recollection is the price that was paid versus the price that he exited at. Just straight numbers, not working in inflation or anything else. It was below what was recorded on the books.
I'll buy it. And I am. So are we buy, selling, holding on immigration and real estate? Is that
The impact of immigration on real estate? I'm buying that because I think that is an underlying issue. It's an undercurrent that people aren't paying attention to. They think they got these houses, the appreciation's there, and they think it's all going to stand firm. I'm not a believer of that. Even if we do see Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve get his arm twisted and jawboned into cutting rates.
I too am a buy, and I'm going to pull up something for you to look at. You know Todd Glazer. We all know Todd Glazer. He's got a new press release every 4 days.
1 second, Daniel, before you go forward. Ken Griffin, he sold his Faina House condo for $11.2 million. He sold it for a combined $46 million and or 23% haircut from his original purchase price, which I want to say is somewhere in the ballpark of about 60 million or so. So he took a 23% haircut on the Faina house.
Developer, when they did it, I want to say it was supposed to be like one giant triplex, and they wind up splitting it, right?
I don't remember the details. I just know that they put people on planes. They flew them up there, and they said this is going to be the best thing. And all of Wall Street titans ended up buying, and I think they all had the same experience. They got to experience the great Florida marketing push that we were always able to do.
So Tom Michael Glazer, big spec home developer here. It seems like he's in the camp of breaking his own records every few months. He just purchased a house, actually from the founder of Crescent Heights, Sonny what was his name? Sonny Khan, right?
Yeah, I think I didn't see the story, but Sonny Khan, I think it is.
Yeah, Sonny Khan. It is a 102,000 square foot lot on North Bay Road, and he bought it for about $100 million. And his plan is to build a spec home there, 35,000 square foot mansion, and sell it for $300 million. Now, folks, everybody watching, that would be the largest single family home transaction in the country ever. That would actually break Ken Billions' record. He bought a penthouse in Manhattan for $200 and something million. He held the record in Miami for like half an hour when he bought the Adrian Arsh estate, only to be usurped by someone who bought a triple lot on Lagos Island that I think Danny Hertzberg sold it to him. But yeah, it's just like record breaker after record breaker. Fun fact, his neighbor on one side, Barry Diller, the Match.com guy.
Interesting. I think he has a new book out. Barry Diller. I saw an interview with him recently.
Great.
Oh, you know where he was? He was on Bill Maher.
He was on Bill Maher. Well, apparently he bought dirt. That was an empty lot right next to this Tom Michael Glazer place, about an acre and a half right there on the bay on 58th North Bay Road. Miami Beach. But we keep on talking about Miami Beach is hot. And these guys, do you think they're going to want to drive into Brickle or downtown? Not like they're working much anyway, but
That's the point right there.
but
That is the point.
if
These
they
people are retiring.
if they
These are
had an
fat cats.
office, wouldn't it be on Class A sexy office space on Miami Beach? And aren't they wealthy enough to be renting for $200 a square foot? That's the product that's being built on the beach.
But these people are all retiring. They do like they always do. You get long in the tooth enough. You want to come to Florida.
Office.
Yeah, family office. That's fine. But what I'm saying is they're not coming here because this is the next tech hub. They're coming here like everybody comes here to retire. I'm just saying that Jeff Bezos, he didn't come here to do business. He came here to retire and get the tax breaks. He wanted to be closer so when he got on the road, he could, or he could helicopter into Mar-a-Lago, whatever the case may be. But I'm saying this is not my perspective. It's not a movement of industry to South Florida. It's simply people retiring and doing like they've done for 100 years and coming down here and maybe I'll set up an office.
Retirees aren't retiring with $1 million because what's $1 million anymore? You can't buy a house in Kendall for $1 million. You have to have at least $100 million. Add some more zeros at the end of it. I mean, the guy who purchased this. Let's look at the property tax record for a second. This was purchased in 1991.
Wow.
For $2.4 million.
That was the end of the cocaine cowboy era, or right when we were morphing in the new one. That was before Willie and Sal, the famous case where a local prosecutor got in a little bit of an issue. There was jury rigging. There was a prosecutor biting the tit of a stripper on a. Yeah. That was
thing about it that I didn't watch.
Yeah. Netflix has got it now. So that's how long ago. That was before I got here. I got here in '93. So that was, in my mind, that was a long time ago.
So that's, typically with a primary home, you don't gain that much money. It's not an investment, but holy freaking cow, $2.1 million 35 years ago to over $100 million today. And then the guy wants to tear it down. It's a beautiful home, by the way. Tear it down and build something anew and hawk it for $300 million. Or is the $300 million thing sort of just a press release and he got a great deal on the land for $100-something million and he'll flip it for $150?
Listen, this is a Banksy. This is a Pollock. This is you name it. That's why houses are works of art, in my opinion. You cannot justify the pricing. You cannot come up with any kind of rational number. That's why I tend to steer away from single-family houses, because in situations like this, I mean, it might be the right price, and $300 million might be the right price. I mean, think about it. They're trying to sell a $120 million condo across from Bayside in Greater Downtown Miami. Why wouldn't you pay $300 million for an oceanfront or a bayfront property in Miami Beach?
But I mean, with this, you got to hire a lawn guy. You know what lawn maintenance at this fucking house is got to be?
What about the electricity? We're all going to be paying more for electricity because we got to build up the infrastructure for AI and the revolution that's occurring. I mean, dude, to burn on this place, plus the property tax. How much did he drop on the dirt for a tear down? $100 million? $100
million. So, yeah, you got
2%.
2%.
2% property taxes annually.
$2 million a year in property taxes.
Divided by 12, he's burning some cash every single month to sit on. If he's land banking,
you know what?
He needs to talk to somebody, bring in some roach coaches or food trucks, sell some booze like they did at Wynwood Yard, and try to generate some revenue. Because if you're sitting on that with that kind of burn every month, just in property taxes, let alone debt service. He's going to have debt service.
Yeah, but Todd's been doing a lot. I think Todd's doing okay.
Work of art. I couldn't tell you about single family houses. To me, don't know. You're the expert. What would you say? Is this
I'm the expert.
Does this make sense? Does not make sense?
I think where the market's going right now, get the fast money. I think that land's got to be worth at least $130. I think you got a deal on the land. Why not just make the fast cash? Get rid of the land.
Can he entitle it? Can he upzone it? Can he do anything special there?
No, it's a single family home. It's a single family. It's North Bay Road. Oh, Miami Beach.
Yeah, but live local.
No, it's a residential. It's a residential district.
If you're dropping $100 million on dirt, I'm sure you can donate to some political action committee or something else and kind of make some stuff happen.
No fucking way. Your neighbors would he'd get tarred and feathered.
Do Airbnb. Do parties. You could do Airbnb parties. You could, there's all kinds of revenue generating opportunities.
I would, if he bought that for what it says he bought it for, I would sell that thing in a heartbeat. Why go through the headache? I mean, unless you can sell it for $300 million. I mean, what does it cost to build a 35,000 square foot house today? 70 million bucks, 2,000 bucks a square foot on the beach, on the water right there. That's what they're charging for, 2,000 bucks a square foot. So say it costs you $70 million to build a thing. He's going to make $100 million in profit. Maybe.
Yeah. But the problem is, do we still have the people we had before? We don't have the Thomas Kramers anymore?
Chicks from the Middle East are buying houses on North Bay Road?
It's a good question.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of
really
with big planes, and they like boats. They love coming to the boat show. I don't know how many people are coming in to take these developers out of these penthouses, to take Todd Michael Glazer, who, by the way, isn't like he's a spec home developer. There are plenty of spec home developers out there.
Very flamboyant.
I think we talked about this in one of our early episodes. This is our 10th episode, everybody, by the way. I hope we're getting some recognition here. But there will be big money spec home developers who get caught holding the bag, and that is ugly. If you're doing a fix and flip and you lost a couple $100,000, that's one thing, okay? And that's painful enough as it is. But if you bought dirt for $20 million, you tore it down, and now you're under construction on a $20 million house, and you can only sell it for $35 and you lose $5 million, it's going to be difficult for you to raise that money again, to do that again. And I think we're entering a market where the music might stop. It's certainly stopping in other submarkets. It's stopping in the condos. The 10 million and up market has been like hotcakes. How long does that go on for, Peter? I don't know.
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, it's already tapped out. It's already played. And in January I called a 40% price drop from pandemic highs, and this is before I knew anything about tariffs, Liberation Day, impact of that. Although the stock market's roaring, credit to President Trump, stock market is on fire. But then you look at other numbers, other indicators, and then you also factor in the immigration. So this is probably the most unpredictable time I've seen since the Great Recession. Honestly, this kind of feels like,
at least during the recession, you knew everything was already bad. So even more unpredictable, one could say, no?
Yeah, because there's positive signs, and the message being put out is positive. But then you look at the numbers, and you listen to the people who are running the offices, like the Federal Reserve, and you're just like, okay, which way do I sort of go? Is this propaganda, or is this like what the real numbers are? And I think because of that, you got to be forced to sit on the sidelines. Now there will be some first mover advantage. People going in there and taking a shot at it. But I don't know. $100 million. That's, I just wonder, is it all his cash?
For one. But
is it his cash, or does he got a JV partner who basically wants to park some cash?
He probably borrowed. Who would undertake all that risk? But if you're a developer, spec home developer, condo developer. If you're a spec home developer, all you need is one buyer, right? When they were building the Flatiron, they had to sell 540 something units. That's a lot of buyers. How much money you got to spend on marketing? So if you're a spec home developer, you just got to build good product, like really good product. And you have to have your Rolodex. You have to have good brokers who are going to bring you buyers, big money buyers. And you just need one.
That's right.
So what is more risky? I think condos are probably more complex, just because of
I would agree with you. I think a single family, you have that work of art in this property. It would be a work of art. It'd be a landmark, if you will, at $300 million on the board. All the neighbors would love you. Everybody else. Yeah. So I can see it. It's just, can you get it over the finish line? And this is where it comes back to, like I always say, when you go to a horse track, do you bet the horse because you like the look? Do you bet the number because it's a lucky number? Or do you bet the jockey who knows how to get over the finish line? And this guy has a proven track record of getting it over the finish line. But it doesn't mean he wins every race, though. That's the thing you got to factor in.
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball too, right? Buy Bitcoin in 2008.
But he's definitely putting his money where his mouth is. So kudos to him for doing that. I hope he's successful. I hope it works out.
You know what? I'm hopeful. I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
Yeesh. I mean, can I abstain simply or
That's what the
defer?
hold is, that you're holding. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
saying
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying that he's
Because
going to
I
be
don't know enough
successful.
about houses.
We're not talking in ultimates here.
Yeah,
I am hopeful that he is successful, because
yeah,
if he is successful, then that means other people are going to be successful, and the housing market is going to crash here, um, at
yeah,
least in that submarket, right?
yep.
I'm buying. You're holding. We'll put it something in the middle. So, speaking of people who have amazing track records or had amazing track records, Don Sofer passed away this past week. He was old. He was in his late 80s.
92.
92. Oh, wow. And so I read a few of his obits. He was still very much involved,
Mm-hmm.
and he's left a legacy. His son and daughter, they have two separate companies, Fountain Blue and Turnberry. Um, his son's running the Fountain Blue, which he very famously opened in Vegas about a year ago now. And then Jackie who is married to Craig Robbins, who developed the Design District, is building Turnberry 1, which is her self-financed luxury condo tower up in that Solimia area on about 150th and Biscayne. It's very nice. They have that whole artificial lagoon thing that is very popular in new developments. But if you can not be in Brickle, which a lot of people can't because that's where commerce is driven. But if you want something luxury and you want to be close to Aventura Mall, which people want to be close to Aventura Mall, or you want to be close to the beach but not necessarily on the beach, that project, Turnberry 1, is very nice. And you're not spending $5,000 a square foot for it. You're spending, I think the blend's at like $1,300. So you're getting Jackie Sofer, Turnberry, well-built, reputation, ultra luxe, not on the beach, but very close to it, and all the views of the beach for about $1,300 a square foot. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Mr. Don Sofer, her father. Peter, you've been around the block for 3 decades here. You got to have a good story.
3 decades. Yeah.
You got to have a good story.
Got here in 93. Got here in 93. Well, I mean, listen, until the 90s when there was this push to effectively have these neighborhoods incorporate into cities like Aventura, like Sunny Isles Beach, like I think even Miami Gardens was incorporated. Don Sofer went into an area, basically reclaimed Everglades or reclaimed swampland, and was able to turn it into something that just became this magnificent destination, much the way Sunny Isles Beach did. And I think there's a lot of similarities. I think there's a lot of parallels between Sunny Isles Beach. Sunny Isles Beach, if anybody doesn't know it, so Northeast Miami-Dade County, you got a barrier island, which is where Surfside was. That was where it collapsed. And then you got the mainland. So you got graded onto Miami, you work your way north, you get up into the northeast corner of the mainland, right on the south side of the Gulfstream racetrack. Where they do the Pegasus race every year. It's owned by a Canadian, at least last I know, it was owned by a Canadian family. So you got this Aventura area. Basically, he created it out of nothing, or is known as the Godfather, and air quotes. They built a golf course. They created a destination, an anchor, if you will. They built condo towers all in and around it. And, also what popped up there, and I don't know if Don Sofer was directly involved with this, where you had Williams Island. Williams Island, this little piece of dirt that they ultimately turned into a condo destination. I know the Trumps, not the one in the White House, but the ones who made their money in South Africa. I think in the
the towers there in Sunny Isles.
Yeah. Jules Trump and his brother. So they did Williams Island. Then they went across to Sunny Isles Beach. So Sunny Isles Beach basically is the same version of Miami Beach is to Miami. You got Sunny Isles Beach to Aventura. So the mainland is sort of Aventura. On the other side, you're going to have the Sunny Isles Beach. But where I'm kind of going with this is you don't really have you don't have like a city hall district or anything.
No central
like
business district.
There's no meeting place. So Don Sofer and
they got a Hillstone.
They were smart enough to, we don't need like a mall. We don't need a square with everything. Let's build a mall and everybody can meet at the mall. While you're there, you get something to drink. Maybe you buy something. You test drive a Tesla.
Aventura is regularly ranked, voted, or they pay for it. But
yep,
they're always the best mall in the Americas.
Yeah, no, they pound for pound are making more money from all the press reports. But again, a lot of that has to do with foreign buyers coming in. So if they're staying in sunny house because they want to be in the beach, or they're staying in Aventura because they're a little bit more cost conscious, if you will, just like Dadeland used to be when they built hotels around Dadeland so people could come here. They could spend the week going to the beach as well as shopping at
Right. They
Dadeland
built
Mall when it
condos
was
and
a thing.
multifamily all up and down
Yeah.
near Aventura. Same thing with Sawgrass, by the way.
So, I mean, it's a brilliant strategy. You got this swampland. You basically reclaim it. You're able to carve off stuff. You're able to do stuff. You're able to do it with your own vision other than working with the county. And then lo and behold, it becomes a city in the 1990s. And the groundwork is there. Your kids take over. You know, you got a daughter and a son. They're very successful. So basically, he's a stalwart. I would say, and this is not the same magnitude, but anybody, like, I've been focusing on Wynwood this last week because we did a study and stuff. So Tony Goldman to Wynwood, modern day Wynwood, is nothing compared to what Don Sofer is to Aventura.
The scale of Aventura,
the magnitude.
No, it's massive.
The way they laid it out, they have a causeway connecting directly to the beach.
They actually convince people to live in Aventura. To this day, you're not convincing people to live in Wynwood.
And now you got a metro, you got a tri-rail station as well as / a Brightline station. So you go from downtown Miami to Aventura to Fort Lauderdale. They rustled it away from Hollywood Hellendale. Hollywood would be a perfect place, right on Hollywood Boulevard and US 1. No. Aventura.
We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, you got the golf course. You got schools there. It's this perfect. It is a mainland version of Key Biscayne. You were talking about Key Biscayne. Certain people want to live in Key Biscayne for all of its attributes. Aventura is the same thing.
You hit the nail with the hammer. It is exactly that.
Yeah,
now, granted, someone who lives in Aventura would never live in Key Biscayne, and would be the same
100%.
vice versa. It's a totally different type of person, but same. What's the word I'm looking for? Strong feelings about their neighborhood, about their city. So what year did he start with that? Was that the mid 80s?
It was prior to me. I'm going through the article really quickly. I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I could offer more about that. So it says that I'm sorry. I just don't know enough about his background. I'm more so been following him since his the son and the daughter took over. So it says that in 1983 Aventura Mall opened, just to give you an idea. And 7 years before that, the city of Aventura.
Was that old?
Yeah. 1983 is when the mall opened. And they've expanded it. They've done a whole variety of different things. I mean, he was born in 1932. He's from Pennsylvania. Remember I mentioned who's going to come from Pennsylvania driving a Ford, dropping $5,500 for a condo at the
he might have been that person driving the Ford. Maybe he was more of a Buick guy or an Oldsmobile.
He went to Brandeis up in Massachusetts. Got a bachelor in economics. He actually played football. He was there on a football scholarship, just to sort of give you some context, which I think is really interesting. And in the '67, he and a business partner they led groundbreaking deal to acquire 785 acres of swampland in Miami-Dade County. He founded Turnberry Associates to realize that vision.
700 something acres.
785. Call it 800. Round it to 800.
What does 700 acres look like? Help me visualize this.
Think of it this way.
Fields, says the interwebs.
All right, so think of it this way. I'll ask Gabe. I think of it this way. 1967, they buy, call it 800 acres. In 69, they get approval. And are you sitting down? They get approval for 24,000 condos as to a master plan. Now you say, well, how much is 24,000 condos? During the boom that led to the Great Recession in Greater Downtown Miami, they put up 22,000. Just to give you context, that's a ton of condos.
Just Aventura inside of
that's
that
just Aventura.
Something acres.
Yep. Call it 785 or call it 800 acres. Well, 1967, they take down the dirt.
I was reading your report, by the way, and the what I pulled out of there was 101 condo buildings in Brickle, 30,000 some odd units.
Yeah, 29,005 something. I rounded it to 30,000. Yep. Basically, the Edgewater market today.
Wow.
Even more than it's more than the Aventura. Yeah, I'd say the amount of condos. Yeah, the amount of condos during the boom before the Great Recession like serious. But what he did with his is they're all manageable. You don't have any, in your face, annoy the hell out of the neighbor projects. They're all basically mid-rise, in low rise. It really is a community. It's kind of like a
Well,
self-contained community.
that's kind of like what Swire did with Brickle Key, right? It was
Yep.
planned.
Or Miami Lakes, same thing. It's one of these communities that was thought out. It was
a
done
master
well.
plan. The parking worked, the deliveries worked, the utilities worked. No, listen. I'm a fan. I
I
think
mean,
today
the kids are trying to replicate something with the Sola Mia on 151st and Biscayne. The problem is that was a Superfund site, so you can't dig there. It was a Superfund site. Anything you had, you go and just dump it. Don't
did you
worry.
say super fund or super fun?
Super fun. So you could dump whatever you wanted there, and they started to do the remediation. They said, well, let's see if it's really going to work. And they put up FIU North Campus on the site. And once that happened, then they were able to go forward and ultimately. So I'm sure they're going to be successful on that. But what Don Sofer did, a book I always refer to is called Bubble in the Sun. It's about 1920s land boom, and they deal with Fisher, they deal with Merrick, they deal with Meisner, deal with Davis out of Tampa.
I think I read excerpts about that. It's about Merrick, right?
Yeah. So, but if you were to write another book, Don Sofer would be in that book along with a George Perez and maybe like a Jules Trump and he's this cycle, this era's significant player going forward. He'll be the type of person a lot of people talk about, and it won't be because of this, Jeffrey Sofer, his son, or anything like that. It's going to be because what he did, what they were able to put on 800 acres. They buy in 1967. Dude, it was all like swampland. You had a super fun site. You had all the. It's brilliant. I'm sure they carved the hell out of it with canals. They wanted the great waterfront. It was it was a modern version era type of what we did in the 1920s or what was done in the 1920s. He's that significant of a player. So that's why I thought it was important. 92 years old and made his mark on South Florida and caused direction for South Florida. Now one tidbit, if I could, I mentioned it's a self-contained community. Well, the reason it is it's impossible to get in and out. Once you're there, it's like, dude, I'm not moving. I am not. I'm not moving. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
That bright line was a big savior to that because I don't want to drive into Aventura off of 95. It takes me just as long to get from Coral Gables to where Aventura is on a latitude, so that north-south commute, as it takes me to go from 95 eastward into Aventura.
That's right. It's and by the way, I was up that way when I was going. Remember, I was going to the cricket. Along I-95, if you look to the east, right before you get to Ivesbury, which is primarily the entryway, the main entryway into Aventura, there was a golf course that was fronting the I-95. So it would be east of I-95, just south of Ivesbury Road. They tore down the golf course, or they're building single family there now that are going for like
I thought you said
2.5 a door,
and they were putting a soccer stadium.
But no. It's like 2.5 a door. For these houses that they're putting up there. So, they're pushing the limits in Aventura in terms of that community. But kudos to Mr. Sofer. Job well done.
Legacy. What do you say?
I'm a buy on his legacy. He goes down as one of the great developers in South Florida history.
Look at us being all positive today. We're buys down the line. Buy.
Yeah, but I was a hold. on the Glasser. Okay. Because I don't know a single family.
He was a hold on the Glasser. I'm hopeful for him. I was a hold on Transit Station Neighborhood Development. I wish it the best, but the track record in the City Hall is not awesome. But that's it for the show, folks. Thank you for our viewers. Thank you for our viewers on the Instagram, because it's from the Facebook, famously. And Peter, I will see you in a second. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Friday. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a South Florida real estate talk show. We will see all of you next Friday at 4 o'clock, where we are always live on Substack, YouTube, and now Instagram. Thanks so much.